Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So I want to talk about understanding the female mind because there's a lot of misconceptions, dare I say, propaganda, political ideology out there, which makes it nearly impossible for the man in Western civilization to understand the mind of the female. And this creates so many problems. You know, it's so bad that I'm not even allowed to talk about this without somebody going through this with a fine-tooth comb and saying, oh, that's hate speech to women. You're not allowed to say that men and women are different. Look, men and women look at the world differently, but the young men are raised to believe that men and women are the same. I am literally being punished right now in this exact moment. My ability to communicate, to express myself to people who wish to hear what I have to say, my ability to earn money in a free market is being destroyed and trampled on because I might say something that might upset some women. Please try to wrap your head around that. You're not hearing what's really going on. We're not really communicating because if I say anything that offends the women, they'll give me a community guideline strike and shut me down. I don't think people can appreciate what's really going on here. Now, what I want to communicate, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for this one, is that because the men want to get together with the women sexually, and because nobody wants to get together with the men sexually, generally, that the men and the women have a totally different way of looking at the world and interacting through social dynamics. And 90% of it is beneath the surface. Okay, we don't even talk about it. We don't even mention it. Okay, that's why they're afraid that I might say something that hurts the women's feelings. And they're protecting the women. They're not protecting the women. I don't go out of my way to hurt people. I analyze situations and I tell the truth so that we can be effective within the situations. I'm a systems analyst, okay? And the variables, the dynamics that I consider are not the ones that you are willing to offer to me and tell me are acceptable subjects. I have to analyze them all. You know, it's almost like I'm looking at a vast dynamic system, and someone is saying to me, don't look over here. Don't consider the information that's over here. Socially, that's unacceptable. And we've been conditioned, and it is part of our instinct to not want to look at this information. But if you don't look at this information in this day and age as a man, as a responsible human being, your civilization will be destroyed. I'm not kidding you. And this information is the difference between how men and women interact with the world. This subtle hidden force that I'm speaking of. If a man starts to cry, we are disgusted. If a man is homeless on the street, broken, reaching out, begging, crying for help, we turn away. It disgusts us. If a woman breaks a nail while she's trying to open up her car door and starts to cry, the world will stop. We'll come running over. We've got to help her. It's 1,000 times more subtle than that. If you're in a public square and a man starts to cry or a boy starts to cry, people will look away. If a woman or a girl starts to cry, people will come rushing over. Understand that this attitude permeates all of our social interaction. So, if a little boy comes into school and says, I don't have my homework. There were some things that happened at my house and I was unable to do my homework. Well, that little boy is going to get punished. He's going to get penalized for not having his homework. It doesn't matter what happened. It really doesn't. And I'm saying a little boy, but I really mean a man. Okay, if you miss a day of work because of a family tragedy, you're likely to get fired. If a woman misses a day of work, if a woman comes into work and starts to pretend that she might cry or just acts a little upset, her simpish blue pill manager boss will come to her and tell her to take the rest of the week off. If you're a worker and you have problems and you go to your manager will tell you to stop bothering him. If a woman stops and pauses and hesitates and puts her hand to her chin and looks to the right and looks to the left, the manager will call her into the office and ask her what's wrong. If an attractive young girl makes a video about how to shape and polish her fingernails, YouTube will put her on the trending page, depending on how pretty and how charming she is. If a man puts out a video on how to save your life by telling you to not get married and to not enter into a long-term relationship with a woman, the blue pill simpish men all through this system will flag that video. That video will be deemed unsuitable by the algorithm. That video will have to be manually reviewed. It's probably, which is happening. Sorry, it's just the truth. And it's going to offend the sensibilities of the weakest willed, milquetoast, blue pill, simpish mama's boy. Are you starting to understand what's going on here? And this is just defending the imaginary women. The idea of women is enough to activate the defensive mechanisms of 75, 80% of your male population. It's a 10-to-1 switch. That's how much their hand is on the scale. If you say something trivial, accepted by the group, without thought, liberal, feminine, no problems. Your message can be promoted. If you say something that requires people to be responsible, thoughtful, aware, able to plan out for the future, your message is pushed down by 10. So in other words, a video that'll save your life gets 100 views, but a video that'll talk to you about coloring your hair because you should do that every day will get 1,000 views. Quality, nothing. Nothing matters. This is, an approximation. Let me, if you make content, let me know what you think about it. But if you make feminine liberal content, you're going to tell me that I'm crazy. But if you make conservative, responsible, intelligent, rational content, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And so men are actually being treated unfairly as a matter of course. It is institutionalized. Sit still and be a good boy. And if you don't, you're going to get drugged. This is for the boys in school. But the boys are not women. They're not little girls. They need to run. They need to play. They need to physically express themselves. Otherwise, they can't grow up healthy. Otherwise, they grow up sickly and malnourished and weak. You can't even treat them the same. If you do, you damage the boys severely. And we are witnessing that right now. That is why they're so offended by the things that the thoughtful man will say. You have to treat boys like boys. You have to treat girls like girls. Otherwise, you severely damage the boys. That's all. And that's what we're witnessing for the longest time now. And so these guys, come around here and they talk about picking up women. They talk about pleasing the women. They don't want to offend the women when they don't realize that they've been emotionally manipulated into adopting this, I'm the hero. It's like, no, you're not. You're the sacrificial animal, and you're betraying the other men. This is what I mean by the pickup artists, okay? They're not even what they think they are. They're pathetic little men, boys, that are actually trying to appeal to female standards. They are representing the female standards as the standards, and they are using it to destroy the other men. That's what's going on. That's why you can't get ahead. That's why by merely telling the truth and looking out after your own interest and having your own standards, you're being punished. You're being fired. You're being told that's out of line. That's what's happening with me, too. That's what's happening with all the men who tell the truth. The boys, the women, the blue pill men are saying, oh my God, you can't say that. All women are perfect. They're all perfect little angels, and boys and girls are the same. And you have to treat them exactly the same. Because to do anything else would be a discredit to the women. You've been oppressing them for thousands of years. It's like nobody's been oppressing them for thousands of years. There has been no great discredit to women, okay? You have to treat the boys like the boys. You have to treat the girls like the girls. Otherwise, you harm the boys. That's what's been happening now for the last 50 years or so. You don't score any points anymore as a man by going along with the women. It's not an act of bravery or courage or defending the truth. It's an act of submission, and it's inappropriate for a man. So I don't think I've said anything out of line. I don't think I should be judged unfairly. I think that we need to have this type of an open, honest, frank discussion about what's happening in the material world. I have never been one to take someone else's ideas as my own. I always examine the situation. I was never punished for having questions. I mean, I was in school, but not from my family. My father was never threatened if I disagreed with him or asked him a question or held a different point of view. And yet I exist in a world where that's exactly what people do. Let me tell you a story and then I'll end this one. My father's in World War II, okay? They're on the beaches in Normandy and the German planes are coming overhead and everybody is running for cover, okay? And my father jumps under a Jeep, okay? And a lieutenant jumps under the Jeep as well. And the lieutenant says, "Dare, get up there and man that gun and shoot that plane." And my father says, "No, sir, I will not." And the lieutenant says, "You could be court-martialed. Why won't you?" And he says, "Because the plane is flying too fast. We won't even be able to hit it. The bullets, they're not fast enough to hit the plane." The lieutenant says, "You could be court-martialed for this." My father says, "Yeah, I know." Next day, the orders come out. Don't bother shooting at the planes, with these types of guns. You can't hit them. Won't do anything. You'll just expose yourself. So you have to be able to think for yourself, okay? When you're walking the narrow path in life and you have to take a step in the dark, okay, it's your judgment to decide, to lay your foot down, to feel and to touch the ground, and then to put it down on that ground, okay? I am not loyal to your social views from the group. I am loyal to the truth. I have to evaluate the world around me. I have to take the data in through my senses. I have to evaluate the data, maybe run some tests, maybe run some simulations. It all happens at the speed of thought, and then I make my decision. I am a free man. I hope that you are as well. I hope you understand the type of influences that are being exerted upon you. I hope you understand the type of end around that's being attempted, not only on free speech, but upon logic, reason, interacting with objective reality. I hope you come to understand how important these things are to you as a man. You can be part of the group. You can do what the others tell you to do, but I don't think you're being a man. I don't think you're going your own way. And these men who appeal to female standards, they're selling themselves out. They will come to the end of their road, and it won't be a good place. So these are just some things that I wanted to share with you and mention because I think they might be helpful. That's all. That's all that's going on here. So let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.